Welcome to the latest installment of Lunchtime Lockdown with Andy. And, well, where's James? I can't see where James is. James is still on what's called pat leave, paternity leave, but he will be back next week. So it's just me today, okay? It's just me. It's your very own Andy Rimmer, vicar, ready for a little bit of fun, just a bit of community, a bit of messing around, a few jokes and all that sort of stuff. Now, I can understand there's not a huge number of you that are actually tied in this time, but that's fine. I can imagine that you're either having your lunch or thinking about your lunch or actually enjoying the beautiful, beautiful weather we're having at the moment. I've turned out my cricket stuff. There's no cricket going on anywhere, amateur, professional, whatever, but I'm living in hope. And I want to talk about that a little bit later when it comes to a subject we're going to call objects of my affection, okay? Think of some of those objects of your affection, obviously apart from your relationship with Jesus. He is your primary form of affection, but other forms of things that you get slightly excited about and slightly obsessed about and slightly up about, we want to have a focus on those sorts of things. So send them to me, go on the live stream, send it to me, because you are going to be the fuel to keep things going in this whole thing. Because frankly, I haven't got anybody else to talk to, so I've just got to talk to you. So I need to hear things. You know, I went down the local shop and, I said, I'm looking for a sailor with one arm. He said, it's not me, I'm a wholesaler. He said, well, what do you think of voluntary work? I said, I wouldn't do it if you pay me. So I was on this boat and all these bits of lamb started floating by. I thought, cool, it's getting choppy. Whenever I get to bed, I always think of France because my bread springs go doing. Right, okay, well, that's a few jokes to start us off to get us into the action. And anyhow, good to have you here, Benny. Great to have you here. And these jokes are rubbish. But anyhow, good to get ourselves going. Let's get ourselves in the mood with a few things. Now, there's a lot of things been going on this lockdown. You know, and now we're in 10 weeks, over 10 weeks. It's been challenging to know what we are meant to be doing about lots and lots of things. Are we supposed to go out? Aren't we supposed to go out? We're certainly supposed to stay alert, but what about all these things? I know for many of you, you found your relationship with God has gone up, you've deepened your relationship with God, but also you found it frustrating, you found it challenging, and sometimes you found aspects of life disappointing. But one area that apparently has grown more than anything else, and I want to know if it's grown in the life of this church, but it is reading. Apparently reading has gone up hugely. Books online, Kindles, the lot, unbelievably large numbers of people getting into these things. So tell me, what books are you reading? Come on, give me some feedback. What books are you reading? Throw them in there. They might be comic books. They might be serious books. They might be Christian books. They might be, you've decided you're going to do all the Christians, whatever they might be. I'd love to know. I always have a variety of different books going at the same time. Probably have about 5, sometimes to 10, which are sort of half read, and I dip in and finish them off. And I've managed to finish a few books over the last few weeks. I finished Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. I told you about that, John Mark Comer. The Dominion by Tom Holland, mentioned that. I've just started a brilliant book. I've got it here. Loving it. It's called Paul, the Biography, a biography by Tom Wright. Love Tom Wright. Ben, who's behind the scenes here, and my Chris, both going to be in a college next year, Wycliffe Hall, which Tom Wright is part of. Oh wow! Look, there's some feedback here. The Pens, they are driving in here with School for Good of Evil and Evil. Naomi's mentioned that. That's good. Good to be reading. I'm sure. Fascinated to know what school they are. Right. Okay. C.S. Lewis, The Problem of Pain. Well, working for me and working with me is enough to drive anybody to the problem of pain. That's from Ben himself. And he's been, his latest book is on systematic theology. Anyhow, but apart from that, We want to know other books that you've been reading as well. Me, I've read a couple of others, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. My wife very much feels that I need that one. And just finding fresh ways to read and read the Bible. The Bible's come alive as well. I'm so excited about the rhythm of prayer stuff that's been happening. Now, talking of books, we wanted to just as a church, maybe gather around a particular book. Oh, another book coming in here, 3 Cups of Tea. Wow, Joe, that's an exciting, that must be great. What types of tea are we talking about there? Maybe, like, is that Earl Grey, Lady Grey? What types of tea are we talking about there? A whole book on tea. Fantastic. It's great. I love a cup of tea. Lots of cups of tea. Tea, did you know that tea, they've run out of tea? This lockdown, because it's affected the places where they pick up the tea, there's a tea shortage in the world. And the fact is, how can this country survive without tea? Always need a cup of tea to get through. So, all right, okay, I've heard feedback again from the Pens. It's not what you think. It's a sort of racy book that I'm sure they read in the Pens household. 3 cups of tea, I can imagine. Ooh, let's not go there. Anyhow, let's move on to, we are going to do something really, really exciting. I'm excited about this. We're going to take a book that you know of and you love, and many people know, which is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And our aim is that from Monday evening, 5 o'clock every evening, we're going to put it a chapter on our channel. So over 17 days, because there's 17 chapters in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, a different person from the life of the church is going to read a chapter of the C.S. Lewis classic. It's going to be really fascinating to see how people grab the parts of this incredible story. I think the idea from a friend of mine who did it, he did it all himself, but we're sharing it around different people in the church. But also, James and the Giant Peach is currently being done across, I think it's on one of the radio channels or whatever. But do tune in to ccbarley.tv every evening, from 5 o'clock, and you will get a different chapter. And obviously, it'll be saved on the channel so that you can look at it again or play it again or go through it with your family or just help. You can even read it to go to sleep. I mean, whatever. We offer everything. Public health, support, insomnia. We can solve it all as part of what we offer. But in relation to this, do you know much about C.S. Lewis? So I've got a quiz now. The other day we had a quiz, emoji quiz, remember last Friday, and Janet McIntyre managed to get in the best answers the quickest. She managed to whack them in so quickly that I personally hand-delivered a walnut whip to her and Stuart. As a result of it, Stuart's blood pressure went down. So that just shows the medicinal effects of walnut whips. So I've got a quiz now to find out whether you actually do know anything about C.S. Lewis. So here are the questions. Question 1. Now, can we have a picture of C.S. Lewis up on there? Is that possible? Am I up on the screen? Ben? Can we have a picture of C.S. Lewis up on there? Is that possible? Yeah, look at this. Am I up on the screen? Wake up, Ben. Ben, can we have a picture of C.S. Lewis up on there? Is that possible? Yeah, look at this. Am I up on the screen? Wake up, Ben. Ben, can we have a picture of C.S. Lewis up on there? Is that possible? Oh, I say, right. Can you hear me, guys? It's all gone technologically mad here. That's C.S. Lewis there. So I've got a question. These are multiple choice questions because currently that's what's in these days. And I always love multiple choice because frankly, I didn't revise enough and I need the multiple choice to work out what they might be. So here we are with the backdrop of did God give us the coronavirus. We've got here C.S. Lewis, all right? You can see him there, amazing guy. He produced and wrote some amazing stuff. So these are the 6 questions. First question, what do I ask? First question. C.S. Lewis was born in 1898 in which city? Was it A, London, B, Manchester, or C, Belfast? First question there. Lewis was born in 1898 in which city? Was it A, London, B, Manchester, or C, Belfast? Okay. I suppose D, we could have had Narnia. Okay, let's move on. Question 2. Okay, question 2. Lewis was a student at Cambridge and started teaching there. Is that A, true, or B, false? Lewis was a student at Cambridge and started teaching there. Is that A, true, or B, false? Question 3. C.S. Lewis volunteered to fight in World War I and was wounded in battle. Is that A, true, or B, false? Okay. A, true, or B, false? Question 3. Lewis volunteered to fight in World War I and was wounded in battle. Is that A, true, or B, false? Fourth question. This author was one of Lewis's best friends and helped him move from atheism to Christianity. Was it A, John Donne, B, J.R.R. Tolkien, and C, George MacDonald? All right. This author was one of Lewis's best friends and helped him move from atheism to Christianity. Was it A, John Donne, B, J.R.R. Tolkien, or C, George MacDonald? Okay. Question 5, only 2 more questions. 5, which pub in Oxford, you may have been there, I used to go there a lot when I was at Wycliffe Hall. In fact, I used to drink there, and I meet some mates. And we sit in the same place that C.S. Lewis used to meet up with his mates. So, which pub in Oxford did Lewis and his other companions drink at? Was it A, the Bear and Lion, B, the Trout, or C, the Eagle and Child? Was it A, the Bear and Lion, B, the Trout, C, the Eagle and Child? Okay, so that's which pub in Oxford did Lewis and his companions drink at? And final question, a film was made about Lewis's life which starred Anthony Hopkins as Lewis. It was named A, Shadowlands, B, The Pilgrim's Regress, C, A Grief Observed. Okay, so final question, a movie was made about Lewis's life which starred Anthony Hopkins as Lewis. It was named A, Shadowlands, B, Pilgrim's Regress, C, A Grief Observed. Right, okay, so these questions here, big questions, slightly adult maybe, but you know, some of you might know these answers to these questions. All right, guys, hang in there. All right, so answers to the first question. Anybody have a go at this one? I'm waiting for the response. First question, number 1, Lewis was born in 1898. In which city? Was it A, London, B, Manchester, or C, Belfast? I'll wait for the answer. Anybody want to have a punt out there in CCB land? All 3 of you that are interested in any of this? The answer is C, Belfast. Okay, second question. Lewis was a student at Cambridge and started teaching there. Was it A, true, or B, false? A, true, or B, false? So it's a guess. You can just guess. Cambridge, was he there as a student? Did he teach there? Was it true, or false? 50-50. Out there. 50-50. Anybody want to have a go? Anybody who has to guess? The answer is it was false. He wasn't a student at Cambridge. He was at the other place, Oxford, and he started teaching actually at Oxford. So, third question. Lewis volunteered to fight in World War I and was wounded in battle. Is that true or false? Did he fight World War I? Was it true or false whether he was wounded in battle? It was true. He was wounded in battle in World War I. Fourth question. The author who was Lewis's best friend and helped him move from atheism to Christianity, was it A, John Donne, B, J.R.R. Tolkien, C, George MacDonald? I'm being asked a cheeky question, live stream wise. Do I prefer Cambridge or Oxford? I had the privilege to go to Cambridge, and I basically studied sport and played a bit of theology. And then I did go to Oxford for my next bit of training to try and be a vicar. And I love both places, but probably I have to say Cambridge. I always cheer for Cambridge in the boat race, to be fair. I like their colour. It's a nicer colour. I like duck egg blue. So does my wife. So frankly, it's got to be Cambridge. Anyhow, moving back to these, the person who helped him from atheism was J.R.R. Tolkien. Of course, Lord of the Rings, all that sort of stuff. 5. Which pub in Oxford did Lewis, Tolkien and others drink at? Was it the Bear and Lion, the Trout, or the Eagle and Child? The answer is the Eagle and Child. The Eagle and Child, or sometimes called the Bird and Baby, for those who are actually in the place. It wasn't the Seabright. It wasn't the Ye Old Monk and Hadley. It wasn't the Mitre, I'm afraid. It was the Eagle and Child. And sixthly, a film was made about Lewis's life, which starred Anthony Hopkins as Lewis. It was named, I don't know, either Shadowlands, Pilgrim's Regress, or A Grief Observed. As I say, Ben, it's remarkable. Where is everyone else today? It like, depends are the only ones watching it, or the other people watching it are just asleep. And that's understandable, because frankly, it's all a bit serious today. There's not the jokes. I'll find another joke, maybe, that will inform people. I was born and bred in a bakery and raised in an oven. Right, moving on. Yeah, final film. It was Shadowlands, of course. All right, not Pilgrim's Regress or A Grief Observed. It was Shadowlands. So, watch out for the reading of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe coming up from this Monday, 5 o'clock on ccbarnett.tv, and you'll find out more about this amazing story and go on the adventure of Narnia, and something for all the family to enjoy. That is fantastic. So we want to hear from you lots and lots of different ways. Obviously not getting much response today, but there are different ways that you can be involved in this lockdown period where we can give feedback and we can understand stuff. And one of the ways that we can do that is through the Padlet board. Now, the Padlet board is something we've been pushing out there and talking about because this is a way for us to have community connection. You see it there up on the screen we've mentioned about this. You yourself can put on stuff that can relate to things like, for example, testimonies, stories of what God is doing in your life and saying in your life. It could be prayer requests, and you can add them on really, really easily. Top tips, maybe you've got recipes, maybe you've got gardening ideas, all that sort of stuff. You can find out about Julian's garden jewel tips and all that sort of stuff. There's social media, little fun clips in there. There's a chicken's version of Waymaker and The Blessing. There's even me dancing a few years ago, looking young and slim and beautiful, to Dancing Queen. That was to build up for a pantomime many, many years ago. And then there's GodTube stuff, which is like talks or a worship and that sort of stuff. Well worth finding out about. And the kids and youth stuff. There's some new kids stuff coming out in the next few days. In fact, I think this week was the first one that families can use, called Faith at Home. And you can use those yourself to find out just with a theme each week. Julie's providing those things, and they are on there. And then finally, we've got a whole section of ccbarnett.tv. You can come on, you can even watch this again. If you haven't got anything else to do in your life, you could watch this again. Wow, this is exciting stuff. I know you're thrilled by this whole thing, this information thing on this Friday lunchtime when you should be out in the sun. You should get out. That's what you're probably saying, but we're only allowed out maybe in 2 groups to sit in an open area in our garden, all that sort of stuff. Anyhow, moving back from the Padlet board, please do use it. We want you to be involved. You don't have to come to us. You can just go directly on it using the link that we'll try and send out again so that you can grab hold of for the Padlet board, and you can sign in using the password. It's covered by our own monitoring service so that we make sure that it's really cool and really kosher and fantastic. So talking to top tips and gardens, we've been focusing on gardens. We've had a big focus, on sheds, trying to encourage people to put in their items. And we've got what we're calling now, this is just a thing we'll try for the next couple of weeks or so, called objects of, I've forgotten what it was going to be called. I've got objects of my affection. That's it. Objects of my affection. Now, this is not meant to be something heavy or serious. It's like things that you will admit and you'd like to admit and you'd like other people to know about that you're excited about. All right. And you can video it, or you can talk about it, or you can show it, or you can get us to talk about it. It's objects of my affection. And the reason I'm saying this is that Rob Bentley, who gave us the beautiful, beautiful video last week from his garden with the Land Rover Barbara Carlin, and we spent some time with Barbara Carlin, he has sent us a fantastic video of an object of his affection, which I think it could bore some of you. But for many of you, this could really, really excite you. This is an example of a man who has very little to do in his life, but is able to express his affection in a quite remarkable way, quite worrying way in some ways. But I want you to watch this video. I'll probably comment as we go through it, but this video is a journey. And then I want to share my affection, okay, in the light of things. And we'll draw to a close at some point with a really exciting invitation to something. So let's watch this video. The light of things. And we'll draw to a close at some point with a really exciting invitation to something. So let's watch this video. The light of things. And we'll draw to a close at some point with a really... Here we go. Oh, we're back. Ben, are we all right? Everything okay? We're trying to get the video sorted out from Rod. Now, yeah, objects of my affection. It's coming back on again, I think. Yeah, we're in again. That's great. So
Land
let's listen
Rover
to Rod.
On the lockdown. I got to thinking about what other treasures there might be locked and hidden away in the garages and sheds of members of the church. So I'm going to start the ball rolling with this baby.
Yeah.
Ladies, you can look away now, because if you're anything like my wife, this will probably leave you quite cold. But here we go, gents, your eyes are in for a treat. As we go around the corner,
what a
behold,
garage.
the Fobco Star Pillar Drill. Oh, look at that.
It's
fantastic.
About
65 years old, made by F. O'Brien Company, and it's the Star, which is top of the range. Made in Scotland, Derbyshire.
Calm down.
Cast iron base, beautiful heavyweight drilling plate, lovely manual chuck.
Object of your affection there.
Fobco.
Nothing like a
There's
chuck.
a plate, and you'll notice that the plate is screwed on. It's not glued on, no sticky back nonsense here. These are screws. These holes for the screws, they've all been tapped.
Yeah.
Beautiful engineering. Some real workmanship goes into these things.
This is great.
Powered by a Griffin motor made by Brook Motors in Huddersfield, another British company. Still running well. She's a single-phase motor.
Yeah.
But if you want a hole drilling in a piece of wood or metal, absolutely square, absolutely accurate to a precise depth, this is the baby to use. There's the depth setter.
We'll be rushing around there, Rod.
It's set it's gradiated in imperial measurements, none of your metric nonsense. So you go right down to a 64th of an inch, or perhaps even half one of those, made 128th.
Rod.
That's beautiful, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Look at that. The action on that.
Let's look at the top. At the top.
For a tree here.
Look at the movement.
The teeth on that shaft. Absolutely lovely.
That's great. Now let's
look at the top. 4-speed.
Yeah, I think
I've loosened the top already to take.
Good. That's good.
The top off. And you see the knurled nuts on the top.
Yeah.
Beautiful. They're collared so you can't lose them.
You can't lose them.
Absolutely gorgeous. Change speed by moving the drive. I think that's an original drive belt with a couple of dead wasps in there too. Well, late you stay. Okay, so you change the speed by moving the drive belts up and down these pulleys, and then you can retension it by slackening these and moving the motor in and out. Wonderful stuff.
You can feel the affection.
She's set to run, or will run. The slow speed is 475, and it's got 4 speeds right up to 4,260 RPM. It even tells you what sort of grease to use for lubrication. Look at that. Alvania, Livona, Esso Thermax, Castrolese. Who remembers Castrolese? Low melting point grease. Fantastic. Well, look, I'm going to put the top back on now.
Come on. Get back into the romantic.
I'm going to start it up for you, but before I do, gents, just listen to the action on this switch. It is fantastic.
What is it the pens are asking?
Clunk.
What is it? Well,
and it's a rotary switch all the way round. Every clunk is so even. 65 years old and it's still like that. Fantastic. So set it to off.
Now listen to it goes on.
Switch the power on.
Oh, look at it. Look at this sound.
Now are you ready?
Now. Look at
Listen to this. Oh, look at that. That's the slow speed, 475 RPM. I keep her on slow because she's quite an old lady and I don't want to wear her out. I always wear rubber gloves when I touch her because I don't want to leave any greasy, horrible, sweaty deposits on her. Fantastic. This baby will still be around and going strong when I am long in my grave. Fantastic. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you, Rob, for that. Thank you for that contribution. Now, I'm personally quite interested in that car, actually, that was covered. That looked really good. But Rod's affection is not for that car. Rod's affection is obviously for that wonderful drill bit going down into relevant things. Pointless. But you know what? You might have pointless areas where you look at it and go, for Rod, it's a thing of beauty. You might have things that you get excited about that other people aren't. For example, for me, look, I'm wearing my cricket stuff. Look, I've had the privilege of playing over 50s county cricket for Dorset. Fantastic. And I would for Hertfordshire, but there's no cricket. It's all being cancelled for this summer. So I'm getting older. Won't be long before I'm in the over 60s, possibly. I have a desire in my life to score 100, a century in every decade of my life. We'll see if that happens. Now, I just want to show you very briefly some affectionate things that I get excited about. Here they are. Look, I have over 20 bats around the place, cricket bats. Not bats, bats you get in the belfry. No, not those, cricket bats. Very briefly, these are exciting. The thing I like about bats, I keep my bats because I've actually lost a few because they've got a bit old and thrown them away. But most of my bats I keep. I'll just explain very, very quickly some more bats. For example, I love this bat. This bat is all right, but it's never got me any runs. It's rubbish. It's a thin grey nickels, okay? Grey nickels. And it's fine, it's a bit cracked. And basically, it's been a completely useless bat, all right? But I think it looks good. It looks great. And I thought I could really do well with this one and whatever. But basically, it's rubbish. Now, this is probably my favourite bat. I've stuck on a thing called Hero on this, and this is a stick-on of an old CJI bat. This is the bat that I got my last 100 when I was about 50, playing for the over 50s against Surrey. Okay, so I love this bat, even though it's completely useless and cracked and almost finished. All right. And then I've got this bat, which is the last bat, which I nicked off my son. Charlie French bat, and it's not French cricket, it's French bat. This was the one I got my last 50 a couple of years ago, and this is the current bat I'm using, Chase. Beautiful bat. I tell you, if it flies off there, that's beautiful. I just love bats. I love particularly. I usually linseed them, not this year because I'm probably not going to end up playing much this year, but actually there's a beautiful smell, linseed oil. Together with the grass and the cricket, it's beautiful. So the objects of my affection would be bats themselves. So Benny is stating that he has an object of affection, it's his Bible. He's so spiritual. It's crazy. It's crazy. He loves smelling Bibles too. That's what he says. Well, he's got 20 of them, and that's after giving them away. He is so super spiritual, it's ridiculous. He needs to go off to theological college and sit in the ivory tower there and, study away with all the others. Wow, he'll be amazing. But I'm glad he'll take his Bibles with him. Anyhow, that's good. So any objects of affection, please tell us, and produce a video as exciting as Rod's, and we'd love to hear what's going on. Right. Just aware that that object of affection is a challenging thing because sometimes they become like idols. But obviously for us, our primary object of affection is Jesus and knowing him and understanding more about him. So it's a primary one, but sometimes there are things that God gives as a gift, like I think cricket bats. I've had so much joy in the area of cricket in my life, and I think God, he enjoys it. I've often reached a point where I sometimes felt bad about it. Actually, I've enjoyed it. And he says, I enjoy you enjoying life, and I want to play in the midst of that. Great stuff. So objects of affection, love to hear about those things. So the final thing I want to play to you is the update that came out. You may have seen this already, and I don't want to bore you with this, but this really, really touched my heart and my life. And it's sort of come out of a love for this particular person. And one of the reasons I ended up coming to this church was a guy called William Pennefather. And on Monday night, I went to visit somewhere, and this video that's going to be shown now, I think, possibly, is a video of what I saw when I went up to a place called St. Margaret's Ridge. So let's watch this video and then draw to a close with a couple of things I want to say about Pennefather.
For walk around here.
So here we are at St. Margaret's Ridge, and we thought we'd come for an evening stroll, and look what we found.
Me? But me, St Giles and St Margaret's Ridge, Giles South Mims and his brother St Margaret's Ridge are connected. And anyhow, Simon Rawlings sent me a note to say where the burial place of John Trotter, who is the man behind the building of Christchurch Barnet, and William Pennefather were buried next to one another, and we managed to track down where their final resting place is. And this is John Trotter's.
Look at that.
Too unbelievable, just completely covered in brambles.
Yep.
Completely covered in brambles. Completely unkempt for years and years and years. We've got this
iron railing around there.
Metal around it. And if you go through here, it's a huge
this is
place.
where we come round,
and the other Trotter one's funnily enough being looked after over there, but not round here. And then here is William Pennefather's
William Pennefather
burial plot, right next door to his friend, and just feels wrong in this year, 175th year. Just seemed wrong that these are the guys who felt led by God.
Isn't it amazing?
To build Christchurch and to build it into what it is. And I don't know. I think we should do something about it.
Earth to earth, ash to ashes, dust to dust, eh?
Yeah, let's do something.
Forgotten.
So this is my update really for this week. I'm here at this incredibly powerful place.
Yep.
And I can't even see the words on here, but I can see
These are
something.
beautiful scriptures on Pennefather's
to God
grave here.
To God,
we're going to clean all this up. We want to clean this up.
Which giveth us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ.
What amazing verses.
Who loved me and gave himself for me. Thine eyes shall see the King in his beauty. And beautiful, you know what? Verses, this guy, William Pennefather, first vicar of Christchurch Barnet, the one who in many ways started the idea of mission across the whole empire, started the Barnet conferences.
Amazing guy.
And was filled with the Spirit, had a passion for Barnet.
One day, I think.
And made Christchurch Barnet really what it is. It grew so much, so they had to build a bit on the side, which we're currently sort of tidying up inside at the moment in this lockdown. And I don't know, I just feel like we should do something about this over this summer.
Amen.
And so moving into the rest of this week, it is half term, but we still got the 30-day challenge finishing at Pentecost this coming Sunday, which is going to be exciting. But also we've got Zoom prayer on Wednesday and Friday, same times. Information about that
this afternoon,
plus Alpha as well this Thursday. So you know what? Here we are, out on location. St Margaret's Ridge, beautiful part of the country, beautiful evening,
stunning evening.
But aware that wouldn't it be good to clear up John Trotter's and William Pennefather's resting places in the 175th year. So come on, Christchurch, come back to me. If you want to join a team that want to do this up,
we're going to clear this up.
Let's do it.
We've got a number of people showing interest in doing this. So very briefly, as I draw things to a close, really, just to say, as you know, it's 175 years since Christchurch was built. William Pennefather was the second minister to lead here. 1845 when it was built. For 7 years, it was led by a curate in charge called Albert Moritz. And anyhow, in the celebrations we were going to have in the next couple of weeks or so, Simon Rawlings has written a short play to sort of talk about all the stuff that's been happening and had been happening in the building, and how it came to be built as this incredibly unique looking building, but more than that, as a place where people really met with Jesus. That was the whole drive of it. John Trotter was an incredible layman who brought his friend William Pennefather to be the first vicar in 1852, 7 years after it was built. And much has been recounted about this guy, but I didn't know much about him till before I came here. 3 days before I was due to fill in my application form, I was not sure whether it was right for me to come. And anyhow, it ended up that I read about Pennefather, and I read about the revival that happened here in Barnet between the 50s, really, 1850s. And this amazing guy, William Pennefather, whose influence was way beyond what he expected. And so tracking down his grave was unbelievable. Wasn't buried here, wasn't buried in Mildmay, where he went after this before he died, the age of, well, my age, 57, back in 1873. And as I say, much recounted, I was pretty moved. One little story as I draw things to a close. D.L. Moody, you might have heard of him. He was like the 19th century equivalent of an evangelist called Billy Graham. He was a bit like that, from the States, from Chicago, real character. And William Pennefather heard about him, and he invited him over with a bunch of others, famous people like George Muller and Charles Spurgeon and others, in 1872. In 1872, he came to visit Mildmay, which was the church that Pennefather had gone after Barnet. And this is what Moody wrote about Pennefather. Just very briefly, I want to read this, and then I'm going to draw things to a close. And I think this should leave us with an expectation of revival. We are standing in the footsteps, we're walking in the footsteps of someone amazing, William Pennefather. This is the quote from D.L. Moody. D.L. Moody, as I say, one of the great evangelists and preachers who came back in 1873. Pennefather had died, and he came back, and he had a mission which was as large and as big as some of Billy Graham's that came over this country. Anyhow, this is what he said about William Pennefather. This was his impression, it said, William Pennefather. I well remember sitting in yonder seat, looking up at this platform and seeing the beloved Mr. Pennefather's face, illuminated as it were with heaven's light. I don't think I can recall a word that he said, but the whole atmosphere of the man breathed holiness. And I got then a lift and impetus in the Christian life that I have never lost. And I believe the impression will remain with me to my dying day. I thank God that I saw and spoke with that holy man. No one could see him without the consciousness that he lived in the presence of God. He wasn't known for his preaching, but he was someone who led people into the presence of God. And that's tallied with a number of other things I've read. He was a guy who brought people together and brought them to Jesus. And we want to honor him. And we're offering opportunity for us to go and really tidy up that place and maybe keep it tidied up in the years ahead as a way of honoring the saints of the past. Anyhow, I want to draw to a close really at the end of today. I know it's been quite a serious one. We had the quiz earlier, which, well, frankly, I think Ben's won it because nobody else seemed to be able to answer any of the questions. They were obviously far too difficult for you out there. But also, we spent a bit of time thinking about objects of my affection. There may be some out there that you want to show and you want to pass on to me. Please do. And we will put it out there, okay? And the final thing really is about Pennefather. Incredible guy, wonderful guy. And, the ancient wells of revival have been in this place. Let's be expectant. For out of this lockdown, we will see the revival of Jesus Christ in this community. The transformation of Barnet Beyond with the love of Jesus, one life at a time. Let's go do it. Thank you so much for listening. I'm just going to pray. Lord Jesus, thank you for this time. Thank you for this fun. I pray blessing on James and Michelle as James comes back to work at the end of this weekend. I just pray your blessing on the church. And I pray that we would have fun in the sun and we would know God's presence more and more each day. Be blessed. Have a great lunch. Have fun. See you soon. Bye.